And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aníbal Arocho. I am the library manager at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies Library and Archives. I'd like to welcome all of you to our Library and Archives lunch hour. Um, and it's one of my favorite, and it is the book unboxing. And for those of you that are new, and this is your first Library and Archives lunch hour, we do different programming around the library and the archives about once a month. And this one is basically we're going to go over um, about 20 or so titles that we've acquired, this semester. And we're going to share all of that with you today in the spirit of the holiday. um, we would like to announce that everyone that is attending today's library lunch hour is going to be entered to win a Centro tote bag. So if you happen to stick through the library and archives lunch hour, um, at the end we're going to um, grab a list of everyone that attended, and we're going to select someone at random and reach out to you via email um, to give away the tote bag. And so we've got a lot of books ahead of us, so I'm just going to get started right away. And the first one is this one here came directly from uh, a librarian who worked at the University of Puerto Rico Aguadilla campus. And this one is for all of you that are from Aguadilla or know someone that is from Aguadilla. This is called Aguadillanos, Perfiles Biográficos, and this is by Alba Martínez Rosario. And en Aguadillanos, Perfiles Biográficos, la autora Alba Martínez Rosario, bibliotecaria e investigadora, destaca y actualiza la vida y obra de personas de Aguadilla nacidas a partir de la década de los años 30 del siglo XX hasta los principios del siglo XXI. La obra abarca distintas áreas del quehacer artístico, deportivo y profesional. So if you or someone you love is interested in the history of people from Aguadilla. Our next one, I think, is a good complement to our recently processed Ibrahim Gonzalez papers. And this one is Alianza Islámica, Spanish Harlem's Islamic Odyssey. And this is by Rahim Ocasio with Juan Galvan. Set in the backdrop of the turbulent civil rights movement of the 60s and 70s, a budding wave of Latino Muslims began to emerge in the heart of Spanish Harlem. What began as a few teenagers with a passion for Islam would soon grow into a sweeping movement which would send shockwaves across both the Latino and Muslim communities. This book seeks to unveil the unique story of the Alianza Islámica, artfully recounting the origins and formation of what would be, in a few years, the most influential Latino Muslim organization in America. Intertwining poignant personal stories with real excerpts of writings and radio interviews with its founders, this book provides a thorough and detailed account of Alianza Islámica's history, exploring what it means to be a Latino Muslim in America. If anyone has any questions about any of the titles we have here, or any questions at all about the library and the archive, please feel free to put it in the Q&A box. Our next one, we don't actually have the book in hand because the books are currently shipping, and it is a part of the Centro Press. And this is Animal Fiero y Tierno, Fierce and Tender Animal. This is by Ángela María Dávila Malavé, and it's translated by Roque Raquel Salas Rivera. This is a Centro Press new book that's coming out. You can order it on the Centro Bodega right now. It is a powerful lyric collection where the I, as it remains deeply intimate, becomes nonetheless a collectivity, a relation of multiple solitudes. The voice, the hands, the belly, the pinky finger are also a dove and a lizard, a blue sun, a globe of earth, animal, and light. Originally published in 1977, it has never been translated into English, which is why it's so important that Centro is publishing this. Roque Raquel Salas Rivera's translation retains the force of Angela's involving rhythm, the delicate combination of the expressive and the colloquial in the language, and it makes it resound fierce and tender in new Anglophone ears. Centro Press is overjoyed and honored to launch its new collection, Puerto Rican Literature in Translation, with this remarkable work of poetry in translation available for order today. Next up, we have Beware the Bantam Fighter, stories by David I. Santiago. In this collection of interrelated stories, David I. Santiago braids together one Puerto Rican family's experiences on the mainland and the island to create an engaging look at their cultural heritage and its effect on assimilation and daily life. Santiago skillfully depicts characters navigating the maze of tradition and the dominant culture around them while also examining themes such as the binary nature of race in the United States that lumps all Puerto Ricans into one category, undesirable. His debut collection is a thoughtful and entertaining look at multiculturalism of American society. And this is published by Arte Publico Press. Next, we have a novel by Justin Torres, and this one's called Blackouts. And it's a winner of the National Book Award. Out in the desert, in a place called the Palace, a young man tends to a dying soul, someone he once knew briefly, but who was haunted the edges of his life. Juan Gay, playful raconteur, tiled, lost and found and lost, guardian of the institutionalized. Juan has a project to pass along, one built around a true artifact of a book, Sex Variants, a study of homosexual patterns and its devastating history. This book contains accounts collected in the early 20th century from queer subjects by a queer researcher, whose groundbreaking work was then co-opted by a committee, her name buried. The voices of these subjects have been filtered, muted, but it is possible to hear them from within and beyond the text, which in Juan's tattered volumes has been redacted with black marker on nearly every page. As Juan waits for his end, he and his narrator recount for each other's moments of joy and oblivion. They resurrect loves, lives, mothers, fathers, minor heroes. In telling their own stories and the story of the book, they resist the ravages of memory and time. The past is with us, beside us, ahead of us. What are we to create from its gaps and erasures? For anyone that's interested in shopping for the holidays, we are also selling this Wepa water bottle in the bodega as well. It makes a good complement to any copies of books from the Centro Press. Next up, we have a book for anyone that's interested in Puerto Ricans and religious life. This one is called Caribbean Lutherans, The History of the Church in Puerto Rico, and this is by Jose David Rodriguez. Caribbean Lutherans tells the story of the Lutheran Church in Puerto Rico from a Caribbean perspective. Rodriguez intersperses archival research with cogent commentary and personal accounts, highlighting the power and agency of Puerto Rican and West Indian Lutherans amid the multifaceted legacy of Euro-American missionary efforts on the island. Readers may not be surprised to learn that the first Lutheran missionary in Puerto Rico was a Swedish-American Lutheran. They may not be aware that his welcome and success on the island were dependent on the hospitality of an Afro-Caribbean tailor from Jamaica. A winding journey of interactions among American Lutheran symbols and a growing Puerto Rican church generated partnerships, tensions, and possibilities. Next up, we have another title that is on the way, and it has been recently published. It's available for purchase at the Centro Bodega as well. And this is the newest issue of the Centro Journal. It's a special issue. It's volume 36, number 1 for spring of 2024, and it's the life, times, and writings of Bernardo Vega, and this is with guest editor Edna Acosta Belén. The special issue of Centro Journal introduces the manuscript written by Puerto Rican tabaquero Bernardo Vega entitled La Familia Farallón. the original source of the Memorias de Bernardo Vega, Contribución a la Historia de la Comunidad Puertorriqueña en Nueva York, a published version of the manuscript edited by Cesar Andreu Iglesias. Vega's original manuscript was found among the editor's papers donated by his family to the Centro de Investigaciones Históricas at the University of Puerto Rico, Rio Piedras, and rescued by CIH researchers in 2011. It was finally released in digital format in late October 2021, along with a special issue of their journal Opsit. The contributors to this special issue of the Central Journal give continuity to the comparative study of Vega's original text and its published edited version, and introduce new perspectives on the significance of recovering a century-long Puerto Rican diasporic history. Okay, next up, for those of you that are interested in linguistics and also in Taino history, we have an interesting title that you can see here. This is Diccionario Taino, documentado y comentado, palabras indígenas de las Antillas Mayores, su significado e interpretación a través de la historia. This is by Sebastián Rubio Lamarche. Taino Dictionary is a compendium of the vocabulary of the Taino people, who were the predominant indigenous people of the Greater Antilles, as documented by the ancient chroniclers and the main lexicon compilations published to this day. The analysis of these significant works, their interrelationships and interpretations, establish a unique and unprecedented contribution to the understanding of the language as an expression of the worldview of these indigenous people. Through more than 500 words, many little known, the reader will have at their disposal a real and imaginary world where the Taino mythical time interlinks with historical time. And next up, we have literary anthology. This is a new edition of Nicholas Canelo's literary anthology. Originally published in 2002, this updated revised edition contains newly discovered text, many by women whose work was even less available than their male contemporaries, and complete versions of masterpieces such as Yo Soy Joaquín by Rodolfo Corqui González, Zoot Suit by Luis Valdés, and Y no se lo tragó la tierra by Tomás Rivera. This landmark of Latino literature in Spanish includes over 150 photographs of authors, original book covers, and historical events such as theatrical performances, and it's another Arte Público Press publication. Next up, for those that might be interested in some more fiction, we have a novel, The House of Bone and Rain by Gabino Iglesias. For childhood friends, Gabe, Javier, Tavo, Paul, and Bimbo, death has always been close. Hurricanes, car accidents, gang violence, suicide. Estamos rodeados de fantasmas was Gabe's grandmother's refrain. We are surrounded by ghosts. But this time it is different. Bimbo's mom has been shot dead. We're gonna kill the guys who killed her, Bimbo swears. And they all agree, feral with grief. Bimbo has become unrecognizable, taking no prisoners in his search for names. Soon they learn Maria was gunned down by guys working for the drug kingpin of Puerto Rico. No one has ever gone up against him and survived. As the boys strategize, a storm gathers far from the coast. Hurricanes are known to carry evil spirits in their currents and bring them ashore. Spirits which impose their own order. So, sounds like a thriller. Next we have a work by Mayra Santos Febres, La Otra Julia. The short and intense life of Julia de Burgos, as told by an author who shows us another side of this iconic Puerto Rican poet. This book won the John S. Guggenheim Fellowship. The author has published a biography of the famous and controversial Julia de Burgos. She embarks on a book tour of different cities, attends presentations, and gives talks, all while trying to keep her family afloat. What begins as a simple assignment to write about Julia becomes an entry point to better understand the poet and her work, but also a framework for exploring the lives of other female Latin American writers, including the author's own. Parallel interests and shared values as two Afro-Caribbean authors breaking into elite literary circles bridge the dialogue between the two voices. This is the story of two women who find resistance and freedom in literature. So those of you interested in the life and times of Julia de Burgos. Latinas, gender, race, and class struggles in the 21st century. And this is actually volume 2. And this has been compiled by and edited by CENTRO friend and longtime collaborator Iris Morales and by Karina Hurtado Ocampo. This powerful anthology centers on the experiences of Black, Indigenous, and working class Latinas, navigating the complex intersections of class, race, and gender that shape their lives. The COVID-19 pandemic illuminated the extraordinary challenges they face as essential workers on the front lines and within their homes. Through personal narratives, poetic reflections, essays, critical analyses, and artwork, 35 contributors delve into the rich tapestry of Latina experiences, exploring both new themes and historical legacies. They emphasize the interconnected nature of systemic oppression and the urgent need for collective action to achieve meaningful change. The volume amplifies the activism of Latinas in ongoing battles for women's rights, economic and racial justice, and struggles against colonialism and imperialism. It documents the experiences of Latinas in today's turbulent political climate, engaging with issues and concerns that resonate across borders and boundaries. And the next one has contributions from a couple of former Centro alumni. So we have this one here, made in Puerto Rico. And this is edited by Hugo R. Viera Vargas, Noralis Ruiz Caraballo, Errol Montes Pizarro, and others. Made in Puerto Rico Studies in Popular Music serves as a comprehensive introduction to the history, culture, and musicology of 20th and 21st century popular music in Puerto Rico. The essays in this volume, written by both local experts and leading scholars, contextualize under-researched areas of Puerto Rican popular music in relation to ideologies, aesthetics, and symbolism, and propose new ways of thinking about Puerto Rican musical cultures. A groundbreaking introduction to Puerto Rican musical culture, the volume covers the major figures, styles, and social context of popular music in Puerto Rico, while also going beyond conventional narratives. Rather than simply providing histories of key genres, these insightful essays focus on the ways in which Puerto Rican musicians reimagine their distinctive musical language as it transmutes from local practices into global expressions. So we have a really good collection of scholars and music experts that produced this, and this is a Routledge publication. Next up, we have, well, this is a good one. This is called Making Neverland: Race and Law in the Creation of Puerto Rico, and this is by Mónica A. Jimenez. Puerto Rico has been an unincorporated territory of the United States for over a century. For much of that time, the archipelago has been mostly invisible to US residents and neglected by the government. However, a series of crises in the first 2 decades of the 21st century, from outsized debt to climate-fueled disasters, have led to massive protests and brought Puerto Rico greater visibility. Mónica Jimenez argues that to fully understand how and why Puerto Rico finds itself in its current moment of precarity, we must look to a larger history of US settler colonialism and racial exclusion in law. The federal policies and jurisprudence that created Puerto Rico exist within a larger pantheon of exclusionary, race-based laws and policies that have carved out states of exception for racial undesirables, Native Americans, African Americans, and the inhabitants of insular territories. This legal regime has allowed the federal government plenary or complete power over these groups. Jimenez brings these histories together to demonstrate that despite Puerto Rico's unique position as a 21st century colony, its path to that place was not exceptional. Okay, here's a new one. Here's one that's by CUNY professor Benjamin Lapidus, New York, and the International Sound of Latin Music, 1940 to 1990. New York City has long been a generative nexus for the transnational Latin music scene. Currently, there is no other place in the Americas where such a large number of people from throughout the Caribbean come together to make music. In this book, Professor Lapidus seeks to recognize all of those musicians under one mighty musical sound, especially those who have historically gone unnoticed. Based on archival research, oral histories, interviews, and musicological analysis, Lapidus examines how inter-ethnic collaboration among musicians, composers, dancers, instrument builders, and music teachers in New York City set a standard for the study, creation, performance, and innovation of Latin music. Musicians specializing in Spanish Caribbean music in New York cultivated a sound that was grounded in tradition, including classical jazz and Spanish Caribbean folk music. For the first time, Lapidus studies this sound in detail and in context. He offers a fresh understanding of how musicians made and formally transmitted Spanish Caribbean popular music from New York City from 1940 to 1990. My pile of books is getting a little out of control over here. Again, thank you everyone for attending. And again, at the end, we're gonna get a list of everyone who has attended, and we will be doing a raffle to give away tote bag. Next up, we have one for those of you that are interested or are from the Bronx. This one is called Paradise Bronx. The Life and Times of New York's Greatest Borough by Ian Fraser. For the past 15 years, Ian Fraser has been walking the Bronx. Paradise Bronx reveals the amazingly rich and tumultuous history of this amazingly various piece of our greatest city. From Jonas Bronk, who first brought land from local Native Americans, to the formerly gang-racked South Bronx that gave birth to hip-hop, Fraser's loving exploration is a moving tour de force about the polyglot culture that is America today. During the Revolution, when the Bronx was unclaimed territory known as the Neutral Ground, some of the war's decisive battles were fought here by George Washington's troops. Gouverneur Morris, one of the most colorful founding fathers, owned a huge swath of the Bronx where he lived, and he was not in Paris during the French Revolution or helping write the U.S. Constitution. So for history of the Bronx, it's interesting. Next up, this is a title that was made possible through one of Centro's most interesting archival collections. That would be the Ruth Reynolds papers. So here we have Radical Solidarity, Ruth Reynolds, Political Allyship, and the Battle for Puerto Rico's Independence. Radical Solidarity tells the riveting story of Ruth Reynolds, 1916 to 1989, a white pacifist from South Dakota who became a stalwart ally of nationalist revolutionaries during Puerto Rico's long struggle for independence. Reynolds dedicated her life to ending U.S. control of the archipelago. She testified before Congress and the UN, organized fellow North Americans, investigated the brutal tactics used by the colonial state to quash the independence sentiment, and was incarcerated as a political prisoner. Lisa G. Matterson introduces the concept of radical solidarity to describe Reynolds' powerful model for globally engaged activism. Guided by her vision of allyship, Reynolds developed deep bonds with the Puerto Rican nationalist women with whom she was imprisoned. collaborated across ideological divides with revolutionary leaders, and established lasting relationships with civil rights lawyers, political exiles, and new left activists. Her radical solidarity enabled her to remain a tireless champion of Puerto Rico's independence through 5 decades of hope, disappointment, and political change. Her life reveals the price paid by those who support an independent Puerto Rico and sheds light on the possibilities of working across differences in the face of U.S. state-sanctioned violence and colonialism. So this is a great complement to the Ruth Reynolds papers. A lot of the research that went into this book came from the Ruth Reynolds papers. Um, so it's a beautiful complement to the collection we have. And if you would like to make an appointment to view the Ruth Reynolds papers, you can. Next up, another book which is has I thought I was going to have it for today, but it has been delayed and I have not received it yet. It's this one here, The Bad Bunny Enigma, Culture, Resistance, and Uncertainty. And this is edited by Sheila R. Madera, Nelson Barras Diaz et al. This collection offers the first comprehensive analysis of Bad Bunny's impact on music, culture, and politics, exploring his gender-fluid style, Afro-Caribbean aesthetic, and critiques of colonialism. The book highlights his role in amplifying marginalized voices. With contributions from diverse scholars, it presents a balanced view of his influence on intersectional resistance. The chapters examine whether Bad Bunny represents a cultural shift or a fleeting moment, positioning him as a multifaceted figure in contemporary culture and activism. Okay. Another book about the Bronx. The Bronx is being well represented today. The Fight for Equity in the Bronx. Changing Lives and Transforming Communities, One Scholar at a Time, and this is by Elaine Ruiz Lopez. A Bronx educator battles injustice to uplift her community. Born in the embattled South Bronx, Dr. Elaine Ruiz Lopez overcame teen pregnancy and adversity to earn advanced degrees, driven to serve children from backgrounds like hers. This inspirational memoir chronicles her vision to provide rigorous, empowering education in her hometown, despite a system stacked against minorities. The Fight for Equity in the Bronx tells the inspiring tale of a Bronx educator who forged her own path. Dr. Ruiz Lopez opens New York's first Bronx charter high school in 2006, offering immigrant and diverse students a nurturing environment for achieving their potential. With deep community ties, yet fighting administrators all alone, she overcomes numerous attempts to dismantle the school. During a chaotic first year, Dr. Lopez risks her reputation to protect both students and her vision. So, pretty interesting story about an interesting individual. Next up, we don't just have books here at the Central Library, we also have movies. So this one just entered our film collection. And while the majority of the Central collection is non-circulating, if you are an educator or work with a cultural organization, you can borrow this and you can show it to your class or to your group. And this is called The Five Demands, a film by Greta Schiller. And it's in April of 1969, a small group of Black and Puerto Rican students shut down the City College of New York, a public university located in the heart of Harlem. Fueled by the revolutionary fervor sweeping the nation, the strike soon turned into an uprising, leading to the extended occupation of the campus. Classes were canceled, students arrested, and led to the resignation of the college president. Through archival footage and modern-day interviews, we follow the students' struggle against institutional racism that for over a century had shut out people of color from this and other public universities. And it's integral to the story of CUNY. Next, we have this one right here, and it's Transatlantic Bondage, Slavery and Freedom in Spain, Santo Domingo, and Puerto Rico by Lisette Acosta Corniel. This groundbreaking volume addresses the enslavement and experience of Black Africans in Spain and the Spanish Caribbean, particularly La Española and Puerto Rico, two of the earliest colonies. Spanning nearly 400 years and rooted in extensive archival research, transatlantic bondage sheds light on a number of relatively under-examined topics in these locales, including the development and application of slavery laws, disobedience and its consequences, migration, gender, family, lifestyle, and community building among the free Black population and white allies. In bringing together new and recent work by leading scholars, including two essays translated into English for the first time, the book is also a call for further study into study of the slavery in the Spanish Caribbean and its impact on the region. And then last but not least for today, we have a memoir, and it is Women Surrounded by Water, a memoir by Patricia Corral. Growing up in Puerto Rico, Patricia Corral was surrounded by women who fought for their needs amid the demands of domesticity and who were dismissed and judged when they rejected any predetermined paths on an island that itself has never been free. At age 25, she married her first love, a green-eyed musician whose internal storms drove Corral to slowly realize that the marriage must end. Faced with disillusionment with her husband, with the patriarchal expectations that surrounded her like the Caribbean Sea, and the limited options available to her, she leaves, only for Hurricane Maria to wrench her heart homeward. Corral evokes the beauty, love, and language of her family and of Puerto Rico, as well as the pain of yearning for more, tastes, colors, and the dreamlike lushness of childhood memories. Infuse this mournful and propulsive memoir of personal and natural disasters and the self-discovery made possible only when we choose what to leave behind. So that's wraps up our books here. Again, there's a lot there's a list in the chat for those of you that might have missed or arrived late or wanted more information. There's a list of everything that I've mentioned here today. If anyone has any questions about the library, our library collection, or any of the books that I've discussed today, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A. I want to thank everyone who has attended. We had a really good turnout today, and we will be getting a list of everyone who has attended and making sure that we randomly select someone to receive a CENTRO tote bag, which, let me see if I can show you again. Let me move my books back into their box. Ugh. This is the tote bag that we will be raffling off. Botamos la pelota. Even if you don't win one, you can purchase tote bags and water bottles and things from the Centro Bodega. If you are interested in viewing any of the materials that we have here, like I mentioned, we have over 20,000 books behind me, or if you want to see a collection such as the Ruth Reynolds papers, you can feel free to make an appointment. There's a form on our website. You can make an appointment. We will be open and taking appointments. So you can reach out and our reference librarian will be sure to make an appointment for you. We do have a couple of questions in the Q&A and got enough. I think we have enough time to answer. Okay, this is a good question. And this is a question that I think is pertinent to what we're discussing. Someone asked, saludos, do we need to be affiliated with Hunter or CUNY to visit / borrow books from the Centro Library. We are a research collection only, so you can't borrow books from our library, but you are welcome to come here and make use of the materials while you are here. And we do allow limited photocopying of the titles that we have available on our shelves. You do not need to have any affiliation with Hunter College or CUNY to come use Centro. We are located at the Hunter College Silverman School of Social Work on 119th Street and 3rd Avenue. All you have to have is an interest in wanting to come here. You can fill out the form, make an appointment, and you can come in and have a wealth of material available to you, including 20,000 books, 500 films, and over 300 archival collections. So thank you for that question. And yeah, please, we get people from all over the world that come and visit Centro, from even people that are only tangentially interested in topics related to Puerto Rico or Puerto Ricans in the diaspora. Um, so yeah, if you have interest in other adjacent topics of research as well, you can come in. Or if you just want to sit down and read and just have a nice, pleasant afternoon in East Harlem, you can feel free to come through. Next we have, are there any streaming links to watch the films in Centro's catalog or only DVDs? Centro does have a wealth of programming that is available for streaming via our YouTube page. So Centro has 5 seasons of an Emmy Award-winning documentary series called Puerto Rican Voices that you can watch free of charge through YouTube. And there is also a documentary that you can watch that Centro produced in the 1980s about Operation Bootstrap called Manos a la Obra that you can watch on there. The other DVDs that are part of our collection, we can't provide streaming because we just don't have the rights for that. They are on DVD and also on VHS. We have quite a number of VHS cassettes, films, shorts, and documentaries that you probably won't find anywhere else. And if you reach out to our reference librarian, they can provide you a comprehensive list of all those movies that we have available. So thank you for that question. So someone is asking, thank you for the presentation, and for letting us know about books published recently. What is the process for Centro selecting books for its library? That's a great question. So Centro, we tried to collect materials that are related to, obviously, to Puerto Ricans and Puerto Ricans in the diaspora. The library collects in the broader sense. Well, the archive is specifically the archive of Puerto Ricans in the diaspora. The library collects in the broader sense that we collect materials like I showed you, like Taino dictionaries and literary anthologies of Puerto Rican and Latin American authors. So we collect in the broader sense of Puerto Rican studies and Puerto Rican literature. And so there's a number of ways that we choose our books. One, we go through database services where we have standing queries about various subject material that we receive, basically daily lists of books that are being published relating to Puerto Rico, history of Puerto Rico, Puerto Rican literature, and other keywords and subject headings that we've selected. We also do it the old-fashioned way by going to book fairs and looking through publisher catalogs. We also select books by word of mouth and by patron recommendations. So if you have a book that you're interested in or you can recommend, please feel free to email us. The email address in general for general questions and for instance, if you wanted to recommend the book, is centro.library@hunter.cuny.edu. I hope that answered the question. We also rely on, there's a network of different Puerto Rican librarians, so we are always emailing each other with recommendations that might be of interest. Great. Well, that was all the questions. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming through, and in the spirit of um, Giving Tuesday, um, I do want to shout out our team that is putting together a donation campaign. In the chat, um, you can go ahead and click on that link, and you can set up recurring donations to continue to perpetuate the work that Centro is doing here. It takes a lot of hard work and effort and also money to keep these books on the shelves and to continue to grow the collections and to continue to offer programming such as the programming we have today. So any any donation, no matter how small, is we greatly appreciated. And of course, if you want to buy some Centro swag, such as we're selling bucket hats and T-shirts and these like whip out water bottles and tote bags. Um, in the Centro Bodega, there's all sorts of great things. Subscribe to the Centro Journal. Centro Journal is phenomenal, and our upcoming issues are going to be really astounding. The graphic design that goes into them, the guest editors that we have lined up are going to be really great. So please look into the Centro Journal as well. Right. Yeah. So someone asked a question about gifting the library a copy of their book. Um, absolutely, we do accept donations. Again, if you email centro.library@hunter.cuny.edu, I can provide the address so you can send books our way. So thank you very much for your generosity. And I want to thank everyone. I think that's it for today. That's all I have. Again, this is like um, my favorite part of the year is definitely the holiday season, and I really do like doing these book unboxings for everyone, just to give you an idea of just a hint of the titles that we get. Um, and so look through these titles. If you want to know any more information about any of them, if you have any questions about them, feel free to reach out to me. And I do hope to see some of you here um, visiting us at the Central Library, so you can say hi in person and you can get your hands on with some of these titles. So definitely, you know, sign up for Centro's newsletter for all of the most updated events and promotions that we have going on. And I want to thank everyone for attending today, and keep an eye out on your email inbox, because in the next couple of days, I'm going to be sending out an email to that lucky person that is going to take away this Botamos la Pelota tote bag. So thanks again, everyone. Have a good, healthy, happy holiday season, and we hope to see you here at Centro very soon.